Hey everyone, Firegrass here, and today I have one more video before I go to bed, and this is to discuss why I think allocating Atlas passives at the start of the league might actually be a massive mistake. I'll let you guys watch me for the ridiculous hot takes, and this video is no exception. Although I will probably be proven right, I still thought that other content creators might cover this topic, and I was just willing to leave this one alone, since I was pretty sure, this was going to be pretty obvious to a lot of people, but I think a lot of people are just caught up in the hype and aren't really discussing it, so I thought I would do the video, and I would be the first one to say it. I think that you will not want to allocate all your passives initially onto the tree for a whole multitude of reasons. The main thing is that it's very likely 3 to 7 days into the league, you're going to want to do a respec. You're going to, have buyer's remorse, feel that maybe there is a better Atlas passive tree setup, and you're going to be looking at a very costly respec if you've allocated all of the points that you initially earned. There's lots of reasons, we're going to get into them all. Why might you respec? First off, Grimmer's probably going to make like 69 different Atlas passive videos in the first week of the league, and some of them are probably going to tempt you because they are going to advertise things such as 8 exalts per hour if you do this farming strategy, and you're not doing this farming strategy, you're making 3 exalts per hour, so you're probably sitting there thinking, hey, if I just respec this tree and then do what Grimmer says, I'm going to be making 5 exalts extra per hour, and it'll be worth respecing because you're going to be making that money back pretty quickly, but it's still going to cost you a bit of money, right? Okay, next up is you might be under-sustaining maps and realize that you need to rethink your Atlas tree to have better paving and more of the map nodes. Now, the map nodes are in specific spots. If you're paving to the league mechanics you think are good, you may not be paving near the map spots. You're going to need to be picking up all of those extra map nodes and increasing your sustain, basically. We have no idea what map sustain is going to look like. GGG change it every league. And this league, they're removing Atlas completion bonus, just like straight up off the Atlas. So what I suspect is going to happen is that Atlas map sustain is going to be massively buffed. This way that people who fail and wrongly allocate the nodes in their Atlas don't end up breaking their map progression. Just imagine a situation where a casual player goes straight for all the Legion nodes and straight for all the Breach nodes and ignores all the map nodes, and they now have no money left and they have no maps left, and they become aware that they need to respec their nodes in order to take the map nodes, but they can't because they don't have any money and they don't have any maps left to run. That's going to be pretty catastrophic, and you're going to see Reddit up in arms about it. So I think what's obviously going to happen is that they're just going to buff map sustain, and you can take the map nodes if you want to over sustain drastically. I'm not sure why you would want to do this, but there are probably some strategies where that will enable you to sustain a single map, and that'll probably be really good, but we don't know. We don't know, and you don't want to lock yourself in too early and then be stuck and waste a lot of time and a lot of currency having to move backwards before you can move forwards again. Now, another thing is that we don't understand the value of the nodes, and there's no way for us to know it until we get to play with the new content. There are a lot of nodes on there relating to Eldritch content. They may be very, very, very high in value. We don't know. We're going to have to actually see how the economy pans out, as I mentioned, and, there's just no point making these decisions before we know and before we have access to this information. Additionally, there are a lot of new strategies that will pop up that aren't really obvious at first, so there are a few that I have my eye on that I'm not seeing people talk about, and I actually don't even want to make videos about it because I will absolutely be exploiting it in the first few days of the league for some early Mage Bloods potentially, but these videos are likely going to pop up sooner or later, whether from me, from Grimro, Pathomath. There are a lot of people who are going to be making content on this sort of stuff, and you're just not going to know about them at first, until you watch these videos. And I guess the final reason, why this is relevant is because if you were smart enough to get the Atlas tree right the first time, you wouldn't be watching this video in the first place. While we're on the topic of respecs, let's talk about Orbs of Regret. Now, in the upcoming patch, 2 Orbs of Regret can be sold to a vendor for 1 Orb of Unmaking. That's going to set the price ceiling. Now, that doesn't mean that that's going to be the cost of Orbs of Unmaking, but you can probably expect that it's going to be close. There are going to be a lot of casuals who know about this vendor rest because they've heard about it on their friends, and it's being hyped up on YouTube for some reason. And even though it's not ideal, and these sorts of things never are ideal, there's still going to be a lot of people who do it. This is going to drive the Orb of Regret supply down. In addition to that, you have Nemesis 3 farming not fueling Orb of Regret supply anymore. Nemesis 3 farming was typically what drove the Orb of Regret prices down early in a league, because a lot of people just farm these sorts of maps really heavily, and that's not going to be the case anymore. So basically, higher Orb of Regret demand, much lower supply, you're going to see Orb of Regret prices being a lot higher. This means the price ceiling for Orb of Unmaking is also going to be higher, which means the price ceiling isn't going to be too relevant in keeping the price down. Now, we're going to talk about the price history of Orbs of Regret in a sec, but basically what this is going to come down to is a full respec is going to cost you 128 Orbs of Unmaking or 256 Orbs of Regret. We're not going to get too deep into the Orb of Regret price history, but we're going to discuss it nonetheless. Now, the purple and blue lines down at the bottom, which had the lowest Orb of Regret prices in recent history, they were Ultimatum and Heist League. Unsurprisingly, these were league mechanics which supplied casual players with tons and tons of Orbs of Regret. The demand for these orbs was lower, the supply was a lot higher, there wasn't a lot of people buying them, so obviously they had to be sold for a lot less money. And as you can see in all of the other leagues where players weren't just having tons of Orbs of Regret thrown at them, you ended up in a situation where Orbs of Regret in the early days of the league were spiking as high as 1.7C, but as you can see in a lot of cases, even a full week into the league, they could still be as high as 1.3 or even at least just higher than 1C. A lot of these prices, I believe, are also singles, so they're not counting bulk prices, so the prices listed here, you can expect them to be even higher. Regrets could very well spike to 2C or higher in the upcoming league due to the, again, decreased supply. We're not going to have a league mechanic spitting them out, presumably, and we're also not going to have an MSS3 spitting them out, so you could basically see them at their highest price ever, and then there's going to be the increased demand because a lot of casuals are probably, going to want them. A lot of people are going to be playing Explosive Arrow and making mistakes with the way they allocate their nodes on the tree. It's very possible to accidentally brick your build, so there are going to be people doing that. Basically you can just expect Regrets to be at an all-time high price. This means the price ceiling of an Orb of Unmaking could very well sit at 4C for a good chunk of the league start period. So the cost of a respec. Orbs of Unmaking could still cost around 3 to 4C on a league start due to high demand, and that's going to be even higher in bulk quantities. That's just the way bulk works in PoE. Many casuals aren't watching videos, and they're going to just impulsively allocate all of their nodes. That means they're going to be reallocating them, and they're going to be basically, depleting the economy of a lot of these Orbs of Unmaking, which means the prices for you are going to be a lot higher. A full respec could end up costing you 384 to 512 Chaos Orbs. Hopefully not, and hopefully you won't have to do a full respec if you have to respec at all, but this is kind of a worst case scenario, and you absolutely need to keep this in mind. There's quite a lot of exalts at the end of the day, and just playing, let's say you have the idea that you're just going to allocate whatever nodes you want to allocate, and then you're going to just reallocate them when you feel like you can. The thing is that playing on your initial nodes for the initial 3 to 7 days of the league probably isn't going to pay for the respec. So allocating, say, only 40 nodes versus the full 100 you might earn, in those first few days of the league, that's probably not going to make up the difference of what you're going to have to pay for the respec. It may just be better if you spend only the points you think are absolutely necessary, or the things that you think are really important to your early league strategy, or maybe your map progression if that's what you feel is necessary. And every point that you feel you don't need to spec, just hold on to it. A lot of content creators are going to be making videos and telling you what the best way to spend these points are. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to simply do your own research and figure out that, hey, Legion emblems are selling for a lot of money, and they don't usually sell for a lot of money. That's maybe something I want to pursue. There's going to be so much more information you're going to have access to after the league launches. The thing is, though, if you allocate all these nodes too hastily, it may help you have a little bit more fun in the first few days of the league, but then you're going to suffer from the fear of missing out when you start seeing Grimro and Parthomath and other people like that telling you that, hey, your Atlas tree's wrong, and this Atlas tree is what's ideal, and this is what you should go for. And yeah, it's just going to generate a bad feeling overall. You're going to be behind in terms of your overall currency, and this just means that, your gear progression is going to be behind. Everything. It's just bad, basically. So I think the strategy is going to just be, don't spend all your points. Spend some, don't spend them all, wait and see, and then you can make a more informed decision a few days into the league. Big apologies to everyone who has been asking for completed Atlas passive trees. I know it's not the fun answer to tell you not to interact with the new fun mechanic that everyone is getting super hyped about, but if you are trying to min-max your currency gains in Trade League, then I think this is the play. If you have a really good starter league strategy that you want to do, allocate the points towards it. Otherwise, sit on as much as you can, allocate only as needed. If you're under sustaining on maps, then you can spend some points on map sustain. If you are going for some early Legion strategies, for example, then you might want to allocate towards the Legion stuff. But anything that you're not actively farming and anything you don't actively need, it's probably best to just sit on those points and wait and see how things pan out. It's not going to be the most fun option, I promise you that, and I think that's pretty obvious, but At the end of the day, you don't watch me for me to tell you how to have fun. You watch me because you want to make as much currency as I do, and that's what I think is going to be the play. Now, I'm not going to advertise my own start of league strategy. I'm hoping to farm a few mage mods before I start getting, really into the currency strategies on YouTube, but I can tell you that my Atlas strategy involves allocating around 30 to 50 points and then sitting on absolutely everything else, and I myself will not be allocating all these points just because I want to see how the economy pans out and make a much more informed decision a few days into the league, rather than just blowing my load all at once and having to face a hefty respec cost. The respec cost probably won't matter in the grand scheme of things, as I'm aiming to farm multiple mage mods, but still 3 to 5x that I don't have to spend is, 3 to 5x closer to the next mage mod for me, so that's a win in my book. If you like this video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I would absolutely appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.